Hi, this is Alex from devstories.eu. LiteLLM's Universal LLM Gateway, episode 15 of 24. Relying on a language model to behave itself is not a security strategy. If a user accidentally pastes sensitive customer data into a prompt, asking the model to politely ignore it is already too late. You need a bouncer at the door, and that is exactly what security guardrails provide. Security guardrails in LiteLLM act as an invisible safety layer between your application clients and the language model providers. They intercept API traffic in two distinct phases. The first phase is called pre-call. This executes after LiteLLM receives the incoming request from your application, but just before it forwards that payload to the external provider. The second phase is called post-call, which triggers after the model generates its response, but before LiteLLM sends that response back to the original client. You define this routing logic entirely within your config.yaml file. Under the proxy settings block, you define your guardrails by specifying an endpoint or a supported integration and then assigning it a mode of either pre-call or post-call. Let us look at a concrete scenario using a pre-call guardrail. Suppose an employee asks a cloud-hosted model to summarize a support ticket, but that ticket contains US Social Security numbers. You absolutely do not want those numbers leaving your internal network. You can configure Microsoft Presidio as your pre-call guardrail. When the application sends the prompt, LiteLLM intercepts the request and hands the text to Presidio. Presidio scans the text, locates the US Social Security number, and replaces it with a generic mask. LiteLLM then takes this sanitized prompt and sends it over the internet to the cloud provider. The external model generates a summary based on the masked text, and your application code operates as if nothing out of the ordinary happened. Here is the key insight. You do not have to apply these rules globally across all your traffic. LiteLLM lets you attach guardrails at the specific model level. This is crucial when you operate a hybrid architecture. You can configure your routing so that any prompt sent to a public cloud model passes through the strict PII masking guardrail. However, if you route that exact same prompt to an open source model running on your own on-premises hardware, you simply leave the guardrail out of that model's configuration block. The local model processes the raw, unmasked data because the information never crosses your network boundary. You avoid unnecessary processing overhead and preserve the exact context. The post-call mode operates with the exact same flow, just on the return trip. When the external model replies, LiteLLM passes the output through your post-call guardrails. This allows you to evaluate the text for toxic language, hallucinated internal URLs, or unauthorized competitor mentions before the user ever sees it. If the post-call guardrail flags the content, LiteLLM intercepts the return journey. It blocks the text and returns a safety error to the client instead of delivering the harmful output. By handling this directly at the proxy level, your application architecture remains entirely unchanged. Your developers just send standard completion requests, and the proxy enforces your compliance rules. The most reliable security layers are the ones that your application code never has to think about. Thanks for listening. Happy coding, everyone.